Is the video running, or what are we doing here? Okay.
No, we're doing like stills, but I'm rolling video so I can grab a screenshot.
Big place, high volume.
What do you want our mouths doing?
I don't know what.
You can do whatever you want.
You want our mouth? What are our fingers doing?
Got something on
What do you
there.
want our fingers doing?
It's a big deal.
Well, I don't know. Your fingers doing something.
In this episode of Chop and Brew, a Pro-Am collaboration with Unmapped Brewing Company. Mindspin Midwest IPA is a special brew project to celebrate 311 Day, brewed with high-quality corn syrup and a very unique hop variety, HBC 1019. Think peaches and cream meets pina colada. Join us for an excitable brew day and tasting notes with Unmapped head brewer Derek Allmendinger and our buddy Juno Choi from Hollingbery Son Hops. If you like what you see and hear about the beer in this episode, you'll find the recipe for Mindspin Midwest IPA in the video description. Before we come original, a quick reminder that Pro-Am episodes of Chop and Brew are brought to you with support from Imperial Yeast, with their epic portfolio of year-round ale and lager yeast strains for pro and home brewers. And our Brodels, the Patreon party people, always going for the hive. Join them in keeping the show strong all along at patreon.com/chopandbrew. What's going on, everybody? We are here at Unmapped Brewing Company, here with Derek Allmendinger, Juno Choi. You might know Juno from the past, you probably don't know Derek, but you're gonna, because we're here to wrap up an epic 311 Day beer project, Mindspin Midwest IPA. We're here to taste it. Before we do that, we're gonna talk about the brew day, the unique hop that was provided by Juno for this beer, and a little bit just about what a Midwest IPA is, because I can already see some people being like, "A what now?" So before we get into it, cheers.
Cheers.
Juno, by the way, is with Hollingberry Hops, Hollingbery Son.
Hollingbery Son,
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
It's a family operation.
It is a family operation, yeah. Fourth generation.
So first things first, before we get into the brew day and anything else, Midwest IPA, we were kind of talking about what would we like to brew on 311 Day and then enjoy X amount of days later, about a month and a half later. We had all the names from our favorite band 311 and themes, and we kind of landed on Midwest IPA, which I was reading a lot about, maybe even thought about doing a round table with people like Bell's and Revolution, people who have a branded Midwest IPA out there. What does it mean to you to be a Midwest IPA?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up both of those things. Bell's, of course, Two Hearted is kind of the quintessential Midwest IPA. It's not marketed or labeled as such, but it is what people recognize as the recognized Midwest IPA. Midwest IPAs are kind of the best of both worlds, and I think you would maybe think that that means the best of the West Coast, the best of the East Coast. I think what it really means is, think of the IPAs that we kind of learned about from England way back when that were super malty. I mean, they all have bitter in their name, but compared to what we're drinking these days, they're not bitter at all. West Coast IPA, very bitter, very dry, not very malty. The IPAs from England, very, very malty, not very bitter, despite the name.
Yeah.
Midwest IPA is kind of the best of both worlds in that it's malty, it's a little bit bitter, but it also showcases the amazing hop flavor and aroma, the characteristics that the consumers really want in a beer. And the other thing that you touched on is that, hey, we're showcasing 311, the band from Omaha, so why not make it a Midwest IPA? That's where they're from.
And that's why there's corn syrup in it. Corn syrup, I should add, doesn't seem to be like an essential part when you look up Midwest IPA. It's more the maltiness. It's more the classic kind of sea hop vibe versus your Mosaics and your Sabros. And so we kind of took a few liberties. But
Mosaic, I love what you did there.
Since we're in the upper Midwest, it worked. So
We call this the Corn Coast. You got the West Coast, the East Coast, the Corn Coast.
I love it.
the grain basket, as it were. All right, so before we talk about the flavor, let's run over the brew day. We came up here on 311 Day, me, Dono, Paul Illa. You had a bunch of friends, both coworkers and outsiders. It was just a very 311-y day. We're listening to 311 on the radio in the brew house.
So I'm just gonna put my foundation water in now, and then I'll start adding grain. Then we'll just keep adding bags as the water level goes up.
Tell me the recipe that we came up with as we're looking at this brew day video.
Yeah, the recipe was, pretty simple. I mean, my philosophy when it comes to making beer, I'm a very traditional brewer. I like to make beers according to, what's tradition. Now, I will shoot that out of the water later when we talk about the ingredients that we used, but I don't like to do single really anything, but I don't like to do too much of anything because I don't want it to be complex.
Gotcha.
I don't want it to be muddled.
So we weren't doing a smash per se. We weren't doing
a smash.
A trash.
We were trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
So the base malt was mostly just 2-row American malt, and then we did a little bit of C45, and we mashed it at a temperature that we thought we'd get pretty good attenuation out of, but enough to leave a little residual sweetness so that the style fit. And then it wasn't until we were boiling that we added the corn syrup just to kind of boost the gravity so that we could get higher ABV out of this. And then the hops that we used were an experimental hop from Hollingberry. Do you want to talk about that now?
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So that's the hop was HBC 1019. So this hop came out in 2016, and really has a lot of flavors of what I tend to think is some pineapple, some coconut, some citrus. I tend to get a little bit more of these overripe fruit characteristics that lend to, I think, sort of a depth within this hop. I think the fun part about what Derek did here with this brew is that predominantly a single hop beer, so
despite what I just said.
Yeah. So it's great to try this beer and to have that true essence of 1019.
Yeah. Zeus for bittering just to get us there, and then a 45-30 in Whirlpool
45-30 Whirlpool and dry hop
of 1019.
Yes.
We'll add real quick the corn syrup I brought to the equation. It's Golden Barrel. It's very high quality. We're not talking about high fructose corn syrup or Krewe or whatever. But when you use it, you might want to warm it up either more than we did or have a plan, because at first you're trying to scoop it out one scoop at a time. We're like, this is going to take forever. So we thought to divert a little bit of the wort out of the boil kettle into this bucket. You stirred it up, got it nice and incorporated, and then we poured in essentially like a corn syrup tea.
I mean, that's a great way to put it. You're right, and that's, I mean, if you aren't able to redirect your processes, you're doomed from the beginning. But yeah, this corn syrup was pretty thick, and it took forever. For lack of a better word, it poured like molasses in January uphill. So yeah, we took some of the boiling hot wort out of the kettle and mixed it in and reduced the viscosity. We were able to but get all of the corn syrup that we wanted.
If you're a home brewer if you're a home brewer using their little 32 ounces, just put it in some like really hot ass water, just like you would malt extract in a jug back in the day. So let's talk about the flavor, man. It is a fun beer for being called like Midwest IPA.
Yeah.
It gives me some like not quite all the way tropical fruit like a lot of these more fanciful hops are giving you guava and passion fruit. But to your point, I get like a caramelized, it's almost like a pineapple upside down cake, because there's both the toasty maltiness from that C45 pineapple. One of the descriptors that really made us want to try this for the heck of it was cream.
I think that's, you're exactly right. I think that's sort of that creaminess, that richness, that, almost like rum daiquiri and sort of inspired flavor that you kind of get on the edges there, which is really makes this an interesting hop, and so fun one to try and fun one to incorporate into a beer.
It's cool to hear you say rum drink, because it's 7.6%. It's no slouch. So you're right. There is like this nose of a little alcohol also with these tropical currents. Mm-hmm. But you said something about a rum drink that people have said, pina colada?
Yeah.
Is something you've heard?
Yeah, a lot of people have described this as being coconutty, some people have described it as being pineapple-y, and some people have put those two things together and like, it's really like a pina colada. I get a lot of citrus, I get the sweet cream too. One of the ways I describe this hop is, in addition to pineapple coconut, is like that orange push pop that we used to, consume as kids in the summertime. And I to me, there's not only do I enjoy that, but a little bit of nostalgia to that too.
Yeah, I think another flavor I'm kind of, or aroma I'm getting is, I think you maybe mentioned it earlier, Chip, is there's a little bit of a dried apricot, almost sort of overripe peach as well too. That's in this.
Yeah. Would either of you say, since this is kind of an experiment to really taste the flavor of this one hop, if you're going to use 1019 again, is there other hops you would buddy it up with? Or do you really just think it's doing enough complexity as is?
Do you want me to start? Juno, you want to start?
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I love this hop. I would use this hop. I know I started this interview with saying I'm not a big fan of smash beers, but I would use this hop again. What I would like on its own, what I would like to do is do it with kind of a hazy IPA where there's a little bit less bitterness, but a little more high protein malts like wheat or oats, because I think that this hop kind of represents a lot of hops that we used to use in conjunction on its own. So this hop, I think, really plays as a multiple hop addition, complexity-wise, on its own. And I would like to do that with some more smoother mouthfeel malts like oats and wheat. That's how I would use it.
I think that's great. I love that idea with using with any sort of hazy and having that sort of softness, lending to these fruit flavors here. I think some other hops that might come to mind that would work well. Obviously, Sabro with sort of that coconut aspect too. That would be fun to play on both of these as well too. I think you could also have fun with any sort of other hop that's going to accentuate some of the citrus or some of those stone fruit type flavors.
Yeah.
I think you could also have some fun in trying to say, how would this hop work with some hops that are quite a bit different? Like, how would it work with some New Zealand varieties? Another hop that I would probably like to play around with is HRC 003. It is one of the USDA public elite lines, so that's got a lot of that stone fruit. So it's got some of that peach, but it also has some mango and papaya type qualities. I think this would be fun to play in, and you could kind of work on sort of this tropical drink type of characteristic.
Juno, you sold me. I'm drooling right here, so stay tuned.
Pina colada hazy IPA coming your way. We'll throw a recipe up. Check out the video description below. Might be a 5-gallon version. It might just be percentages. That's what the pros often like to provide to us, and then let you figure out how your system. But a fairly low lift beer, but awfully delicious, for sure.
Low risk, high reward.
That's the way we do it. All right, y'all. Chop for Chop, Brew for Brew, 311 day, part 2.
311.
From 311 to 5-1. Whoop, whoop.
Do you want some more?
Should I have a full glass to...
I mean, it's your call.
It's your call.
I don't think you need a full glass, but if you would like more, I'm happy to pour you some.
Going down. Oh, the Mindspin.
Well, we'll do it for
do it for the
display
gram.
purposes, but I might not finish.
Do it for the optics.